Hello, good evening. Welcome back to Behind the Olympia Curtain. My name is Amy Lillard, and I am the Executive Director of Washington Filmworks. And I do just want to point out that the sun is out and it's still light outside. That is so hopeful for the future and the spring. So I'm really grateful to have you join us this evening. And I always like to start with the breaking news out of Olympia. And it's been bananas. It's been crazy. So I will start by sharing the news, if you haven't heard already, that the Senate bill was voted out of the Committee on Business, Financial Services, and Trade on Tuesday, staying strong at that $20 million a year. So we're really excited about that. And we have never gotten out of committee without a cut to the annual allocation. So we got to keep working on it, and there's a long road ahead of us, but we are just very encouraged by that Senate committee's support. So also, I do just want to mention we worked with Senator Shelley Short to put some language in our bill about better supporting rural Washington or filming in rural Washington. And I just have to say that Senator Short was such a delight to work with, and we're very excited when this bill passes to encourage work in outside of our production centers of Seattle and Spokane. So really excited about that. Next, it is because there were an amendment on that bill, it is now called Substitute Senate Bill 5760. So when you see it, when we publish things about the campaign, it will be SSB 5760. So don't let that throw you. Same bill, a couple of changes, all good. On the other side of things, we did have a hearing in the House Committee on Community and Economic Development this week. Thanks to the folks that participated on Washington Filmworks panel, very powerful, including our special guest tonight, which I will introduce in a minute. And also a very heartfelt thank you to the 370 people who signed on in support of the bill. Just an incredible showing by this industry again, showing up and working with us to get this past the finish line. So thanks for that. On the breaking news front, and this is not yet public necessarily, but I'm pleased to share that the House bill is scheduled to move out of committee tomorrow, which again, these are those hurdles that we jump over during the session. And so we will get out of the House Committee on Community and Economic Development, and then we'll be referred to Finance. So as always, these check-ins are about giving you ways to engage in this process and be part of this process. So as you can tell from our weekly updates, it's a short session. These bills are moving very, very fast. So we are going to, as we go into the budget committees, we'll be issuing those action alerts. And those action alerts are to sign on in support of the bill. Literally takes 2 minutes. So when you see them, please, very, very important. Budget committee is a signal, very important committee for us. Please sign on in support. And then if you missed it, also this week, we issued the business letter of support. So this is another opportunity to sign on. If you are a business owner in the state of Washington and are registered to do business in the state, please sign on to that opportunity as well. We launched that, I think, yesterday. All the days are running together because everything's moving so fast. But I think we had 50 business owners sign on. I know that there's more of you out there. So spread the word. Encourage your friends who have film businesses that support the industry. Please sign on and support. What we do with that is we share that information with elected officials saying, hey, did you know that you had this film support business in your district? So with that, keep with us. We're fighting the good fight together. Next week is a big week with our budget committees, and stay tuned for those sign on to support those bills in those committees. So with that, we go to my favorite part of the evening where we get to welcome our special guest. And this evening, it is my pleasure to welcome Ron Leamon. Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
I am good, thank you.
Good. So Ron Leamon probably doesn't remember this, but when I first moved to Seattle, he was the first person to officially welcome me to the industry. We were at a party at the Seattle International Film Festival. He walked to me. He's like, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm Amy Lillard." He's like, "Well, what do you do?" And I was like, "Well, I'm working for stuff." And you said, "Well, welcome to Seattle. I should be the first one to welcome you to Seattle." And there was the sweetest thing.
Oh my gosh.
You probably don't remember that.
I don't.
Yeah, well, I do. It was a very, very impactful because Ron Leamon is like a veteran costume designer. Why don't you tell folks about you and your the work that you do?
I do costume design. I've been doing it for, gosh, I don't know how long, since the 70s, late 70s. Since the late 70s, I've lived in Seattle for since the late 80s, and have been a strong advocate for the film industry, and moved here from the East Coast, mainly North Carolina, where they had a huge incentive program and did everything they could possibly do for the film industry back then. And so I think Christine Lewis was head of the film office here then when we arrived. And it was down at the Seattle Center at the time. And I just remember walking into her office and saying, "I'm here to help you," because I lived in North Carolina, and let me tell you, you need it here because there's so much that can happen. And so anyway, from that point on, I got to know as many legislators as I could over the years, and have remained friends with Jeannie Cole Wells mainly.
Amazing.
She's been a lifetime friend. So.
Yeah, she's an amazing. For those that might not know who Senator, it was Senator Cole Wells at the time. She is now Council Member Cole Wells, and she was responsible for getting this bill renewed and way back when. So she's a great, huge, wonderful supporter of film. But that's a really nice opportunity to shift to some topics of conversation I'd love to cover with you. You know, we wanted to bring you on so that you could tell us, like, well, can you tell people in general, what is a PAC? What is a PAC?
It's a political action committee that chooses to give funds to a candidate or a cause. It could be a bill of any sort or a cause against or for. And you raise funds to support the candidates or not, and for the cause. And it's called a political action committee. And so we have Film PAC.
Film PAC.
And
well, and I think it's surprising. I think when people, you know, you hear on the national news about PACs, and I think that I'm going to turn my light on. So maybe, oh, that's not my best lighting, but that's okay. Maybe you can see my face. So people think, I always hear about it on the news, and until I had this job, didn't realize that we have PACs right here in Washington State. So in 2010, you started Film PAC. And why did you feel way back then that that was an important something to do?
We needed to raise funds it was mainly to educate the eastern part of the state as well as this side of the state that we were an industry, and we were here to let everybody know that we were supporting them, those people that supported our industry. And there was there were bills up, and there was also the incentive was I think it was just starting. I can't remember. Or it was
renewed. I think we were going for renewal.
And so it was raising funds it was awareness mainly, because I think there were people that were really not aware of what the fund was doing and who we were. And that's been a problem all along, is that to realize that we're in a viable industry. And I think that's, it's always been the problem. I mean, Los Angeles, California has always had the film as an industry. Vancouver, it's just been recently that they've actually been called an industry up there. So,
yeah. It is. It's a powerful tool in the toolbox for advocacy, is what how you explained it, have explained it to me in the past. And, I was just wondering, I know that just recently you kind of resurrected the effort with a group of people. Can you tell us about that? And I know that you did an initial round, I think, of fundraising.
yes, it was through a group of people that helped resurrect it, because there was a handful of us that kept it quiet after so many years. The involvement of the community dwindled, and then there's all of a sudden there was a resurrection of a handful of people that said we really want to bring it back. And since I am connected with it, I was approached and said, can we do this? And Joanne Ort is our accountant / treasurer, and we had to find out the legalities of reviving it and seeing where we had to go with it. And anyway, it was a short, it was quick and easy to do, and it was revived. And we did a fundraiser, and we set a goal, I think, of $25,000, and it was raised.
Yeah.
And it's an easy thing to do. Money is easy to raise if you have a good cause to raise it, and you have people that will go out there and push for it.
No, did we lose Ron?
Cause is, and it's a good cause. This is always a good cause.
So. It's always a good cause. And I love the fact that you're kind of like, well, I did this thing. Like, Ron, you are that thing. You are like the head of Film Pack. And like every time you're like, oh, Ron's involved. I mean, Ron has been involved with like every advocacy effort since I have been around, which is a very long time.
Oh, you're too kind.
Oh, come on. And I will just say we had a great moment. Ron was kind enough to testify in the House Committee on Community and Economic Development this week. And he had like the greatest bam moment where he said, you know what, I looked up everyone on this committee and where you live. And I can tell you right now, I have worked in every single one of your districts. And I was like, yes. So that's a great moment. But so I know that, the Film Pack is an ongoing thing. And, what about like if people want to contribute some amount, how do they do that?
Well, after we just looked it up, it's I think it's the Washington. Hold on.
I wrote it down. Oh, look, it's on the screen. wafilmpack.org.
Yes, wafilmpack.org.
wafilmpack.org. So let me ask you this too. Like, to me, I feel like, PACs are about like big dollars. Like, what if someone can just get 5? Is it worth it? Should they?
Any amount is worth it.
Yeah.
That was the whole point of this last fundraising, was it didn't matter how much, as long as there was somebody donating, because it was the effort of, that's the whole thing with the politicians will acknowledge that you've given them some money. It's always that way. And it doesn't matter whether it's $50 or $1,000. They will always take your money. Gracious.
That's true. Politicians will always take our money, right? Is that what you say?
And mind you, we don't, a PAC doesn't directly give it to you can only give so much directly to the candidate. You have to give it to like the committees, like to the Democratic Committee or the Republican Committee, and they pass it out, or the caucuses, I should say, and they pass it out to the candidate that you select, or candidates you select that you would like to have it divvied to.
Right. And so, and again, just to clarify, it's not like, if someone were to give $10 to Film Pack, it's like, oh, this is from Amy Lillard or whatever. It's like under the Film Pack umbrella.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So
Yeah. So, and I know it was tremendously successful, round of fundraising. I know it's something that, you're always, Film Pack can always take contributions. I kind of just want to, like, since we're getting towards the end of our time, I'm just wondering, we're at this place. You have been part of every advocacy effort in our history ever since I've been here. And I'm just curious to know, like, it's a marathon. Like, what words of wisdom do you have people who might be like, this might be their first go round? Longtime advocate that you are.
Fight the fight. I mean, I cannot stop. I cannot stop fighting. As much as I want to sometimes. It's just I just have to keep doing it because there is so much here in Washington State, Seattle, and there's so much talent here. I mean, we have so much crew-based actors. I mean, we have everything here, and we're fools not to utilize it, and we're fools not to convince these politicians that we're an industry. And I don't know how, other than jump up and down and stomp my feet and make them understand it. I mean, you don't know how many times in the beginning that I drove down on every day and went to their offices and sat in their offices waiting for them to listen to me tell them how important it is. Mm-hmm. And, this is when Mike Lowry was our governor. This is when it's just so important that you have to be present in front of your politicians. These are the people you elect, so why not be visible? But at the same time, invite them to the set. Clear it with whomever it is and invite them and show them. If you're in their district, invite them. It's like Rose Red. I invited everybody down there, and they showed up and they saw how many people were actually working and how many dollars were being spent in their district. And it was amazing. And then you also bring the local people you're spending the money with and saying, hey, we'd like to have a sit down with the local politicians. And so you invite the county, the city, and you all have a sit down and you talk and say, oh yeah, this production spent $20,000 or $30,000 just on a week in my restaurant. So I mean, there's so many things that I just think that people are so unaware of how much money you drop. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well, and I think what I've loved being in the room with you, and I have on many occasions talking to elected officials, is you talk from your personal like your personal space. And like, this is my experience and I'm telling you my story. And I think that's what makes, advocacy a powerful, the most powerful advocacy I've ever seen comes from that perspective. So, in addition to being here talking about Film Back and thanking you for that, I'm thanking you for your years of advocacy.
Oh, you're sweet.
I'm
just looking at myself. I'm just looking at myself in the computer and going, oh my God, I've aged so much over the years being here. It's just like, this is what this industry is doing to me.
We don't age. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's being in the sun. It's being in the snow with the sun being, anyway.
You're beaming. I love it.
Anyway,
as promised, we like to keep this under 20 minutes or less. And so as we part ways, thank you again, Ron. And
thank you for asking me.
Yeah, and it is.
And thank you for your friendship.
You're the first one to welcome me to Seattle. And, it is, next week is week 4. And, we're fighting the good fight. And things are happening and that bill is moving. Please stick with us. Lots of opportunities to engage. Stick with us. We got 4 more weeks after next week. Stick with it. Something's possible. That's always my closing. Something is possible. So, all right, Ron. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
All right.
Likewise. Bye.
Bye.